All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do we have here? We have the final video. What is it about? It's about fruit. Oh, look at this good stuff in this picture here. All of it looks delightful to eat, and that's what we generally think of as fruit, something good to eat. At least by most folks like fruit. But technically speaking, a fruit is anything that develops from what? Anything that develops from a flower what? A flower ovary. And so all of those things that we see here develop from a flower ovary. So do these things, these berries. And so some of the fruits, maybe we wouldn't eat them, but maybe birds or bears or other beasties of the field and the woods and so forth might eat those fruits. But there's a lot of things that develop from flower ovaries that aren't edible by anything, such as these. Oh my goodness, what is that? That is a cocklebur fruit. And wow, and this really sharp, spiny thing here with little like hooks on it, that developed from a flower ovary, and there are seeds inside. Nothing and nobody is going to eat that. I'm sure. And the same thing with maple fruit. There's a seed inside each of these. I haven't ever seen anybody or anything eating maple fruit. Same thing for this. Well, that's not fruit, but this puffball, all these little guys, everything that goes floating off, that is a fruit. So let's back up to the beginning. Fruit. Fruit develops from a flower ovary, and fruit has a basic function, whether it is edible or not edible, and that is this: seed dispersal. That's the basic function of fruit, is seed dispersal. Say, what's that all about? Well, why is it helpful for a plant to get its seeds out and about and not falling straight down? What happens if the seeds fall straight down and grow beneath the parent plant? Well, if they germinate and start growing, pretty soon you got baby plants competing with the parent plant, right? Competing for water, minerals, maybe sunlight and so forth. And so I kind of compare it to this. Having seeds that fall straight down to the ground and growing beneath the parent plant is kind of like having children that never leave home. Oh my goodness. What do you know about that? Anyway, so it's helpful for a plant to get its seeds out, to disperse its seeds. Now let's think how that occurs. First with edible fruit, then with non-edible fruit. Not edible by anything. Well, here's some fruits here, and here's some fruits here. How would they contribute? They're edible. Edible by something. And how would they contribute to seed dispersal? Well, when a bird eats a berry like that, the fruit goes down the hatch. Where do the seeds go? They go down the hatch as well. And then what happens to the seeds? They go through a long, dark tunnel. And when they emerge to the light of day, have they been dispersed? They surely have. They have been dispersed. So how does edible fruit assist in seed dispersal? It passes, it is eaten, and then the seeds inside the fruit pass through the digestive tract of an animal and are thereby dispersed. And so many seeds will not germinate. They will not germinate unless they have passed through the digestive tract of an animal. Well, let's go on to the non-edible. Non-edible, how do they aid in seed dispersal? Well, this cocklebur fruit, how does it aid in seed dispersal? Well, if you ever let your dog loose in the woods at the wrong time, you know that these cockleburs will stick to the dog hair, right? And they don't come out easily. They generally have to be what? Cut out. And so normally an animal that doesn't have an owner to cut the cockleburs out, an animal out there, it has to live with the cocklebur fruit stuck in its fur. And what's going to happen after a while? The cocklebur will crack open and the seeds will drop in the soil. Have they been dispersed? They certainly have. And so what is one way that non-edible fruit contributes to seed dispersal? It clings. It clings. It clings because it has hooks. The fruit clings because it's sticky, and it sticks to something or clings to something by hooks, and the fruit opens up later, drops the seed someplace else. So an example of a clingy fruit would be cocklebur. That would be an example of a clingy fruit. What about these guys? There's a seed inside each one of these little these areas here. How does maple fruit contribute to seed dispersal? Pretty doggone obvious, right? The wind's blowing, this ensemble breaks loose. It's like a little helicopter, a little propeller, takes the seeds quite a ways downwind if the wind's pretty good. At least takes it downwind a little ways, and the seeds are dispersed. Same thing for these, right? Not these, but these. And so those are fruits, and they blow off in the breezes, and there is a little seed, one seed down here, and that is carried along in the breezes by the fruit, and off it goes. And so, how does that non-edible fruit? It floats in the breezes. We can sort of say it sort of flies. Doesn't really fly, but it floats in the breezes. And two examples that we just saw are what? We saw maple fruit. It floats in the breezes. And we saw dandelion fruit. It floats in the breezes. Carries the seeds a long ways off. Again, what's the theme here? Seed dispersal. And so we've got clingy fruit. We've got fruit that flies or floats through the air. And one final example, this one. Oh, you can go to the grocery store and buy something about this big, and it's called a coconut, but is it a coconut seed or a coconut fruit? It is a coconut seed. It is a seed. And what's the fruit? The fruit's quite a bit bigger. And so someone has, and is it edible fruit? Yeah, about as edible as this desk right here, and just about as hard as this desk. Nobody's going to eat coconut fruit. And the what you buy in the grocery store, somebody's very kindly somehow chopped away or somehow removed the very, very, very hard fruity part of it. I say fruity, it's hard as your desk. But how does coconut fruit aid in seed dispersal? How does it aid in seed dispersal? Well, coconuts grow along the shoreline, right? They grow along the shoreline of the oceans and islands of the world, and the tide comes in. Coconut may be on the beach or maybe falls in the water, and the tide comes in, takes those coconuts out. They float across the ocean, roll up, wash up on another shore, and the seed inside there germinates. And so, fact is, this is a little coconut embryo. When I teach plant biology, I break open a coconut in a way that shows this embryo. And so if this is embryo, my goodness, what's all this white stuff, the stuff we put on birthday cakes? It is, well, if this is the seed coat and this is the embryo, there's only one thing this can be: endosperm. And both the liquid and the solid is endosperm. Is this a corn type or a bean type seed that has all this endosperm? Corn type. That is correct. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a coconut palm. It's got those big old fruits up there. And so, what was the final way that we saw? Some non-edible fruit floats. It floats. An example would be coconut fruit. Coconut fruit, those big old fruits about this big, not the seeds that you buy, but the big old fruits that have the seeds inside, and they float. And again, the theme for both edible and non-edible fruit is what? Seed dispersal. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. You have finished the course. Congratulations.